What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Good Days Only podcast, bringing you good coffee, good vibes, and good music. Hey, bringing you the honest caffeine breakdowns and reviews, giving you a little sprinkle, some good news to add some positivity to your days during these stressful times and this stressful last week. Whoa. And last but not least, gonna be rounding off the podcast with a little parting gift for y'all. Help get you through the week. Let you know what I'm gonna be bumping in my headphones, what I'm listening to for the week or the weeks to come. Since we are dropping bi-weekly, thank you for being patient. And episode 7 today. Whoa. Yes. We're gonna keep this thing rolling. Thank you again for tuning in here and rocking with your boy. We got some exciting things that happened since we were on here last. And we got a little bit of a change in addition to the end of the episode. You're going to want to stay tuned for this. But without further ado, let's get into the caffeine breakdown. All right, and today for the caffeine breakdown, episode 7. That's right, what's up? Here are the 5 categories. We got number 1, the coffee name and roaster, the message, background story behind the, given by the coffee master there. Number 2, the appearance and packaging. Number 3, the roast type. And number 4 and 5 put together here, the brew style and the coffee grind type. You're going to be going over a little bit of details of how I created my cup of joe for this, all right? And today, we've got a new name. And a new location, geographical changes here, Excuse me. We've been mainly exploring around the Seattle area, inside of Washington for the last several episodes. But today, the coffee name and roaster, let's get into number 1. The coffee we got brewed today and we're sipping on here, coming from somewhere not in the PNW. What? But all my Seattleites, not to worry. You can purchase this at your local Whole Foods, QFC, PCC, stores around here. We got Groundwork Coffee Company in the house. They bringing us some Bitches Brew. Whoa, and that is a large reason, part of the reason why I got this. This is a fantastic name for a coffee. But Groundwork Coffee Company originated on the one and only Venice Beach, California in 1990. Dang, that's like, 20, 30 years. 30 years, that's 30 years ago. Wow, that's crazy. I feel like whenever I see, when looking at these dates, like when I see 1990, 1980, it's weird because to me it feels like 1970 was 30 years ago. And I don't know why. Maybe because I was born in the 90s and by the time the year 2000 came around, it was 30 years ago, 70s to 2000. But I don't know. It's weird. So 1990, 30 years ago, that's kind of crazy to think. That's kind of scary for your boy. That means that, I'm getting up there in age. Oh, man, that is scary. But anyways, Groundwork Coffee Company originated, in Venice Beach back in 1990 with a mission of sourcing and sharing the very best organic coffee they could find. Since the origins, circa 1990, Groundworks has expanded and is now throughout LA and has a cafe and roastery in Portland, Oregon as well. They have about 15 cafes actually throughout LA, and then that cafe and roastery in Portland, Oregon. Let's look at a message from Groundworks here. Through exceptional organic coffee, we propel people forward to connect, work, and support a path towards a better world. Wow. Now, isn't that something? Let me get a little sip here real quick. Bitches Brew. That's all right. Not too shabby here, Groundwork Coffee Company. They got an extensive website that I was perusing. And I encourage you to check it out because it's awesome. They have information on all the locations you can visit them at for all my homies out there in California, as well as around Portland, or if you're ever making a stop in Portland. I mean, it's only a couple hours drive from Seattle, so it would be worthwhile, I think, to visit them. But it has all this information on the locations you can go to and check them out. And one really awesome portion of their website that I was very pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed this. Appreciate it. Thank you, Groundwork. Is their Learn section. When you go on their website, there's like a little tab on the upper right-hand side it says Learn. And here you can look over some really useful and helpful tips and hints on how to consistently produce an ideal cup of joe. Some of these things I actually took and applied when making this cup of joe right here. Feel like I'm talking a little fast. I'm a little caffeinated right now. It's a Saturday morning. I hope you're all cozied up right now. Listen to this. Because I'm cozy. It's getting cold out here now in Seattle. Temps are dropping. But yeah, let's get back to this. Bitches Brew, as explained by the roasters here, was developed as an ode to the legendary Miles Davis, whose album came out with the same name, Bitches Brew. Our Bitches Brew blend is incredibly dark and unique with a subtle note of smokiness. As its namesake suggests, this coffee is a classic for the ages. We got some hints of dark chocolate and salted caramel, it sounds like here. Which, when I saw that, I was like, I feel like every single coffee that I've tried has hints of dark chocolate and caramel. Might be one of those blanket terms you could just throw on coffees and people are like, oh, okay. I mean, it's worked on me. So can't even hate on that. But let's talk a little bit about that appearance and packaging here. And again, as I mentioned briefly, this is a large part of why this one stuck out on the shelves. As you know, I'm a sucker for a good name. While perusing the aisles of the QFC, we came across this matte black bag, James Bond-esque in appearance, you know, when he's wearing the black tuxedo with the bow tie. That's what this reminded me of. We all know which one I'm talking about. And also on the bag here, surrounded by a bright red frame, are the words, Bitches Brew, Signature Blend. A smoky and creamy blend with notes of dark chocolate and caramel. Got the 12-ounce bag here. It is USDA organic. All right. And they've got a couple steps on the side here how to do this and the recommended brew styles, which we'll get into here. But look at this. Groundwork proudly specializes in peak roasted single origin coffees and robust, flavorful blends. Our mission is to develop each coffee to its maximum potential while meeting the demands of our dynamic customer base in a sustainable way. From field to cup, we provide the highest quality coffee available while continuing our work to improve the well-being of our communities, both locally and at origin. Sick. Nice message from Groundwork. Thank you. We appreciate that, Groundwork. Certified organic coffee. Organico. So yes, the packaging here, not the classic brown bag that we are used to. The black bag here with an airtight seal. Actually had to cut this open with some scissors, which was reassuring. The seal was airtight. Nothing was getting into those precious little beans. Other packages that we've had, you know, they have the glue or the adhesive type stuff on the inside of the bag, and you have to tear that open. I've had experiences in the past where this had actually come undone or was unglued in the process of getting to the house, and you see a little bit of a change in the beans, and yeah, you might have to toss them at that point. I don't know. Maybe get your money back. But let's move into the roast type here, and this bitch right here is a dark roast. All right, not for the faint of heart. A more pronounced taste on the palate, pretty strong up front, I think, with the smoke in your face. It says lingering or subtle notes of smoke, but I don't know, it's pretty smoky in my opinion. But I feel like you can really taste the distinguished smoky taste. Medium body with this one. And it actually has, as I mentioned on here, the recommended brew styles for this coffee, and they recommend the French press, the drip, and the cold brew. And hey, guess what? That's right, you guessed it. We tried all three of those this time around. And so a little bit of different hints of flavors here for each of the brew styles. So for the press, let's talk about that here a little bit. 4 scoops of the coffee beans, which came out to exactly 32.1 grams of that bitch's brew whole beans. Mix that up with 4 cups of water, okay? About 30 seconds off boil, about 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and soak that sucker for 4 minutes exactly. That's 240 seconds, okay? And that was for the press. And this made for a pretty delectable cup. As mentioned before, a little bit smoky on the taste with this one. But overall, I could see a little bit of that dark chocolate on there. Not too much of the caramel. Around this one. Some of the coffees we've tried have been sweet, not this one. This one's a more just in your face, I think, with the dark roast. But yes, it was a pleasant experience. Let me get a little sip. All right, let's talk about that young drip coffee. And not too impressed with that one. Honestly, it could have been like Folgers, the OG, and I wouldn't have really been able to tell the difference, I don't think, if I had them side by side. That being said, I think the drip, the machine that I used for this one, might be a little bit outdated. Not really sure. So that could have played a factor. All right, but couldn't really taste any of the smoky taste on it. Wasn't. I mean, it was just like a I don't know, like what I'm saying. It could have been Folgers for all I know. What I was very impressed by was the cold brew that was recommended. For the cold brew, I took 3/4 cups of beans, measured that out by weight, 53.8 grams to be exact, and added 4 cups of water into the mix. Let that sucker sit overnight in the refrigerador. That's a refrigerator for all of my non-Spanish speaking folk out there. For 12.25 hours to be exact. And let me tell you, I was not a fan of the flavor at first, but I think that was because I had just brushed my teeth. It tasted kind of like pine needles. But after a little bit, and no, I did not mix any gin in my coffee, okay? Crest and coffee just don't really go well together, I guess. But after a few more sips, this flavor actually evolved, and it was quite nice. It was, nutty, sweet on the front of the tongue, the palate. This one, I could taste the smokiness, but it was, as they mentioned in the tasting notes, a subtle, lingering, aftertaste of the smoky. It didn't kind of hit me in the face with that cold brew. Some dark chocolate as well, a little bit more pronounced on the back of the palate. So overall, very pleased with the cold brew. And I guess just letting those soak in there for a longer, extended period of time produced a good brew there. Overall, the flavor profile here, interesting with the smoky. I like the fact that Groundwork has the extensive website, offers some interesting details about how to brew your coffee. I'll be referring back to that website again in that Learn section. The look of the bag here, slick, got a solid name. Gonna give this one a 8 out of 10, all right? B-, I know, respectable though, okay? 8 out of 10. -1, because again here, with the blend, we don't know where the beans come from. And, I like to know where I'm getting where the source is. For all I know, I could be getting duped. I don't know. Not on the website or on the bag. But that's all right. The flavor profile, not the biggest fan of the smoky up in my face, like I was at a campfire and I was inhaling that smoke. So gonna dock another point for that. But other than that, pretty good cup of coffee, good to sip on. And that cold brew, that might have just held it. If the cold brew would not have tasted as good as it did, this might have like a 6 out of 10 or something, but that cold brew threw down for this. Groundworks Bitches Brew. Check out their website and learn something new for the next time you brew some cafecito. Let me get a little sip and let's transition into some good news. Hey, and some good news. Daylight savings happened last week. Hope everybody is feeling well rested. Not as much daylight these days. Kind of hard getting up in the mornings, but for some reason it feels a little more cozy around this time of the year, We got the cold months coming up ahead, which allows for cuddling up with your favorite cup of joe. Some cozy vibes. Turns out falling back is actually not daylight savings time, but the reverse of daylight savings, also known as winter time or standard time. I don't know why we name it daylight savings on both, in the spring where we spring forward and in the fall where we fall back an hour. But this hour that we fell back helps synchronize humans' biological clocks, according to Dr. Beth Ann Malo, director of the Sleep Disorders Division at Vanderbilt University Medical Center in Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah, that sounds about right. I feel my biological clock synchronized, I guess, synced. That might be why I feel a little bit more cozy, I don't know, in the mornings. But yeah, actually, daylight savings time was popularized by the Germans in 1916, where clocks were turned ahead by an hour on April 30th in 1916, 2 years into World War I. The rationale here was to minimize the use of artificial lighting to save fuel for war effort. And it all comes back to war. Why we gotta do that? Come on, people. I don't know, but the fallback was reverting back to the standard time. Next, a hot topic here. Psychedelic states. Dude, whoa, some pretty groundbreaking news that happened Wednesday last week, November 4th, after Oregon, shout out PNW, legalized the use of the active ingredient in magic mushrooms. Whoa, Measure 109 will give legal access to psilocybin, the main active ingredient in magic mushrooms, for mental health treatment in supervised settings. Hey, I think big plus here for those that are in need of this. I mean, for years, people, there's been studies that support the idea that small amounts, under supervised settings of these psychedelic drugs can help those that are dealing with things, from drug addiction or PTSD. For example. And I mean, I'm surprised it took this long for people to come to the consensus that psychedelics might be helpful under these trained supervision. They were made illegal back in 1968 for what, dude? Like, oh, hey, these people are having a little too good of a time here. Let's wrangle them in a little bit. I mean, before that, it was not illegal and everybody was having a great time. I think. I don't know. I mean, dude, have you heard of Operation Midnight Climax, dude? The CIA was essentially drugging people without them knowing in a mind control effort, like experiment. I don't know. Look that up. Very interesting. And, they even, what is it? Charles Manson. That motherfucker was like a big part of. So yeah, just look up Midnight Climax, and you could go down the rabbit hole. But very interesting stuff. Oregon would also decriminalize the possession of small amounts of some hard drugs, including heroin and LSD. Instead of being criminally prosecuted, those caught with small amounts I'm not sure what the amounts are here. Couldn't really find anything on that, but they will be fined $100 with an option for that to be waived if they agree to seek treatment for whatever condition they may have. In the District of Columbia, interesting, residents also voted to decriminalize the use of magic mushrooms and other psychedelic substances, including the active ingredients in ayahuasca and peyote, with the passage of Initiative 81. This was especially surprising to me because, that's the capital of the United States of America. This news in D.C. and Oregon and many other states are actually on the Mary Jane train. Dude, New Jersey, Arizona, voters legalized the recreational use of marijuana. South Dakota, voters passed a measure by a landslide, actually, that would make marijuana available on a medical basis across the state. Mississippi, the majority of voters approved an initiative that would set up a medical marijuana program for patients with debilitating conditions. Montana legalized the recreational use of marijuana with a minimum buying age of 21. Damn, dude. So all across the U.S., this is what I'm saying. Hey, it's like alcohol back in the days, and now everybody likes that nice cold Coors Light, So I don't know. I think this is going to be an interesting topic to follow in the years to come over the next, 10, 20, 30, 50 years. I don't know. Let me get a little sip here. All right. Hey, what? Dino DNA. Dude, fossils of a duck-billed dinosaur have been discovered in Africa, and many experts, fossil fanatics, aka paleontologists, not to be confused with Scientologists, have been thumped by how this may have occurred, since the dinosaur was found in Africa, which was an island continent and completely isolated by a deep sea during the late Cretaceous period. This fossil was completely out of place, like a kangaroo in Scotland, or a Komodo dragon off the shores of Vancouver Island, or maybe like a grizzly in the Andes Mountains. Unlikely, unheard of. Experts believe that the duckbills, with their large tails and powerful legs, must have crossed hundreds of kilometers of open sea to reach the continent by rafting on debris, floating, or swimming. That's insane. Dang. Hey, all this to say, there are still things unknown in this field of study. So there's still hope for me, your boy, to find the remnants of an extinct species. This used to be something that I was obsessed with as a kid, dude. Growing up on a farm, my little brother and I, we had a lot of time on our hands, in the summer after finishing chores, of course. But one of those past times was searching for pretty much anything we could find underground, digging holes everywhere. Exciting stuff, fossils being found. Wow. Let's take a look into the future and see what we got coming up here in the coming days. This upcoming Tuesday, November 10th, the 275th birthday of the United States Marine Corps, founded in 1775, at that time known as the Continental Marines. And at that time, their main purpose was to provide additional support and security for the newly formed Continental Navy, and acted as such and also played a big role in the Revolutionary War. But in 1798, there was legislation passed for the U.S. Navy to separate and make its own branch apart from the Secretary of War. The United States Marines were also established as their own separate branch on July 11th, 1798. The birthday was officially then recognized in 1921. Major Edwin North McClellan of the Marine Corps History Division submitted a proposition to the ranking commandant, which advocated for the anniversary to instead be designated on November 10th. And there we have it. As we know it today, the celebration honors the history, values, and memory of our heroes who have served, and rekindles the bond which unites generations of Marines. The day celebrates traditions of the Marine Corps with profound respect, paying tribute to the heritage and distinguished service. The few, the proud, the Marines. Hey, you guys remember that? Seeing that commercial on TV? Man, this one here is just near and dear to my heart, because my brother is a Marine. He served, and I remember when he left, I think I was in he had just graduated high school or was just recently out of high school. I was in 4th grade or 5th grade, and I didn't really understand what was happening at the time. But I just remember how bummed I was because he wasn't around, and I looked up to him. I still look up to him, and I always wanted to be wherever he was at. And we would correspond via letters back and forth, and I always look forward to getting those, and I still have those. But yes, this upcoming Tuesday, make sure and reach out to someone that you know, if you know anybody that has served or is serving in the Marine Corps. And shout out to all of my friends out there as well that have served in the Marines and those currently in the Corps. Wednesday, November 11th is Veterans Day. Again, hey, thank you to all of our veterans. And please reach out to those, that have served for you, for me, for our country, for our freedoms. Anybody that you have in your life. And then give them a sincere thank you. Saturday, November 14th, National Pickle Day, dude. Oh, I love pickles. Really, anything pickled. Pickled garlic, pickled peppers, pickled onions. I mean, they all cause horrible breath, but I think it's worth it. It's worth it, I think. Yes. Fight me on it. Oh, dude. Also, before I forget, the Pac-12 is back, dude. What? Which means Cougar Football Saturday, baby. Back in action. And that's another Cougar first down. Dude, the Cougars take on the OSU Beavers today. Behind the main man in the driver's seat, leading the pack, new head coach Nick Rolovich. And you know what? That's all I got to say right here. We're just going to stay tuned in. Tune in tonight to watch that game, 7 p.m. on FX1, I believe is where it is. But I'm pumped. And going to be playing tonight. Today is Saturday. So not the same, obviously, not being at the game due to COVID and whatnot. But yeah, vamos Cougs. Now, drum roll for the new GDO playlist. Doing something a little different this time around, and going to keep this a little bit short and sweet here. Introducing the GDO playlist. This is available in the description of this podcast, so check out those links. Follow the link whether you bop your tunes on Apple Music or if you're on the Spotify gang. And this week, we got Ari Lennox, a.k.a. Courtney Salter. Known professionally as Ari Lennox, she's an American R&B singer-songwriter from Washington, D.C. She is the first woman to be signed to J. Cole's record label, Dreamville Records. She released her first EP, Pho, that's P-H-O, on the label in 2016. A favorite of mine off that album is titled Backseat, a song for the grown folk. Actually, yes, fair warning here. Ari Lennox is not some PG-13 music, not for the little ears, okay? Not something that the whole family should be listening to in the car ride to Wild Waves. This is actually something that I appreciate about her, though, and I've actually had this conversation with a good friend of mine, that she does not put out songs for people under the age of maybe 22 or so, If you're under 22, you might not enjoy this. You might not enjoy this music, because you don't really understand what she's talking about, okay? But her sound and what she is talking about in her songs just feels so authentic. Like she's not trying to just sell out and make songs that people are going to TikTok to, all right? Tootsie Slide. But yeah, she has some jazzy feels in her songs, like Up Late and Chicago Boy off her most recent full-length album, titled Shea Butter Baby. That came out in 2019. You hear some woodwinds in these songs, some nice saxophones, clarinets maybe, a good trumpet here and there. So it's good all around. Hey, the playlist will also include songs she is featured on with other artists from Dreamville Records, as well as other artists and other singles of hers. So check it out, and I hope you enjoy. Again, that link is going to be in the bio for the Spotify and Apple Music. Let me get a little sip before we wrap up here. Yeah, boy. Yes, so check that playlist out. And let me know what you think. Reach out to your boy on GDO at GDO Podcast on the IG, on the Instagram. Hit me up on that email, gdopodcast@gmail.com. All right. And thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to episode 7. And let's keep it rolling. 2 weeks from today, going to be dropping with episode 8 and some new coffee, some new updates in the world for you. And it looks like, whoa, we just got word. Dude, is it official? Joe Biden? Hey, well, we're going to wrap this up here. All right, everybody, cheers. Again, thank you for tuning in. Love you all. Much love. Until next time. Peace.